Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Legends with Ravi. I'm Khalid, your host once again, and today we have a very interesting conversation that we're going to be having with Alviro Petersen. Now, this is something that I was looking really forward to because I haven't had an opportunity to actually speak to him over the last 3 4 years that I've been in the industry. So this is an amazing opportunity for me to learn more about him, and not we have no one better than Ravi actually to actually ask those questions and really get into the details and ask them. I have to say, welcome back, Sadiq. We haven't seen you in a long time, so welcome to the show. All of you guys, get your questions in, keep it going. Everybody that's obviously watching, don't forget to subscribe and like and share and comment and all of those things that you know we love to do. And of course, you know that the main part of this show is to do the questionnaire. And the question and answers part of this is the most exciting part, one of the most exciting parts of the show. So get your questions in the comment section and we will ask them to Alvaro when he comes on later on in the show. So without further ado, introducing the main star of the show, Mr. Ravi Reddy.
My
Just gonna
wife
give you
is
a few
gonna think I'm
seconds
an absolute.
just wanted
My
to give
wife
you a few
thinks I'm
seconds
even
there to
more.
enjoy that.
It's miraculous. I made my wife think I'm much more lamer than I actually am in the space of 5 seconds there. But thank you again for playing the song, the music. Funk Star Deluxe remix of Bob Marley's "Sun Is Shining." Fantastic song. Always enjoy playing that, especially when watching cricket. But
Mhm.
thanks again for keeping us on air for how many weeks has it been now, Khalid?
It's been a long time. This is episode 9 now, I think it is. So it's been over
Wow,
9 weeks. We skipped 1 or 2 weeks, so we can say it's longer, but let's just say 9 weeks to go with 1 week per episode.
100%. Yeah, no, so far so good. It's been great. It's been
Yeah.
a great inning so far.
What a
But
journey
yeah,
it's
happy
been, eh?
to get into it. Yeah, it's been an interesting time. We met veterans, young and old. I think what's great about Alviro is that he's the first Protea that I'll be engaging with from the 2010 era as well. So most of the guys we've engaged with have been from the years past, from the 80s and 90s,
Mhm.
early 2000s, if you will. And this is the first time we're actually going to go just a few years back. So it's not really too far down memory lane in this instance.
Hmm. It's incredible. And about the music choices, I'm thinking that over the next few couple of weeks we're gonna mix it up. So we're gonna get a little bit of insight into what Ravi's playlist is like. I'm not gonna give myself an
God,
intro. I
no.
don't think you guys are gonna love
Good
the
Lord,
music
no.
that I listen to. So,
You don't want to lose
but let's
subscribers now.
no, but I think it's nice. We can give them some tips and some advice on what they can listen to. You know, you want to open up everybody's horizons and open up their minds on what to listen to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for obviously Alvira to join the show. But until then, let's just have a chat about him. Ravi, for you, obviously to me, I think Alvaro was took a difficult task of coming in and at the time that he did, and then opening up the batting for South Africa. It's a difficult task. It's one of the toughest positions in South African cricket. I think it's one of the most how could I say judged positions, or one of the ones that are in the spotlight all the time that people are really haven't really been, it hasn't been solid, I think,
Mhm.
since Graham Smith has left, and we've been struggling to find, you know, those people to fill those holes and to find a good partners up the order for a long time and to keep it consistent. So
Mhm.
toughest, especially in South African cricket, and it's one of the toughest positions in the world. I think opening the batting in South African conditions is very tough, as well as Australia, and as well as in England. I think when facing those space, facing the swing up front, facing the new ball up front is a daunting task on certain pitches. So it's not a very easy task to do. But from your perspective, what is it about Alviro that really stood out to you?
That's a great question. I think what first thing that came to mind is the fact that we're not so far off in age. I know Daniel jokes around, says that Daryl Cullinan is younger than me, and things like that. But Alviro and I are not that far off in age, and I think he formed part of one of the great trios that came from the Lions franchise in the last 10 to 15 years. That I'm talking about Neil Mack, of course, Stephen Cook, who we had on the show about, I think, 6 weeks back. And they were great guys. They contribute extensively to the 4-day game, especially. And I found that Alviro was a significant part of that equation as well. I mean, for to have an average of 40, and I think he had about 42 to 43 first class entries on top of that. That tells you what sort of prowess, what sort of stature this gentleman sort of left the game in. I think he's a superb player, very orthodox in terms of his stroke playing. And it's just a pity we only saw him score 500s, but I think that I think age went a little bit against him from that point of view as well. It's very difficult to open the batting at the age of 35, 36 as well. Your hand speeds are quite there, as we found out. I would say the closest example of that, unfortunately, and Hashim is not an opener necessarily, but he got a bit of a unfriendly greeting from Jofra Archer in the World Cup as well. I mean, that comes down to hand speed. It sort of deteriorates over time as you play a couple more seasons. But yeah, fantastic player. Also one of the Galvindale greats, which we hope to get into. And I'm looking forward to having this discussion with him tonight.
Cool. So I just wanted to ask you more about this. We're just waiting for Alvaro to come in. He says he's on, but I don't see him over here. Did we send him the right link, Ravi?
I sent him the right link.
Let me just double check over here. Oh, there we go. We found him. So let's just I think the perfect time for us is actually to bring him on the show and have a conversation with him. I think everybody in the comment section is waiting for this and everybody's excited. I think you are too. This is probably the best part of our week, is to be able to talk to legends of the game. So without further ado, let's introduce him to the show. Just give me a thumbs up, Alvaro, when you're ready, and I'll bring you onto the stream. Cool. How's it, sir?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks to you.
Good, thank you.
Great to see you.
Thanks, nice to be on your show.
Yeah.
Now we're ready to How's it going? Can you hear me?
I can. It's going well, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Great to have you on. I think as an icebreaker, I think Khalid would actually appreciate this as well. Alviro, this is a very important question. You can't get this one wrong. Man United or Liverpool?
Man United.
Hey!
Now you need to play the Man United song right now for that one, Khalid.
That's incredible.
You have to play that at some point this evening. Fantastic. Yeah. We had Vinny Barnes here about 3 weeks ago. He's the only Man City supporter I ever met in South Africa, which is amazing. I met a couple Tottenham guys. There's about 6 Tottenham supporters. Right. Liverpool supporters are obviously to the brim at the moment, so I think we can exclude them from this conversation for the time being.
We will.
But how's it been going for you, Alviro? Sorry, pronunciation. You just tell me if I'm on the right track. Is it Alviro?
Okay. Alviro is fine. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Good. What you've been up to since the lockdown? I know that some people have had their businesses sort of flourish online. What have you been busy with the last couple of weeks or months?
Sure. I've been very busy. I've been finalizing my studies. I have been doing a lot of work. So it's been normal for me. The only thing is, most of it I've been doing online and remotely. But I mean, it's same old same.
What are you studying out of interest there, Alviro?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Scientology. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm studying LLB law.
Oh, awesome.
That's fantastic.
Good stuff. Yeah. We got MBA here, and you're doing your BCom, Khalid?
I'm done already. Eh? Don't worry
You
about
class.
me.
Oh, there
Okay.
we go. There we go.
No, but
There we
what is
go.
it like to study later on in your life? Obviously playing cricket and then switching and then be able to do that later on in your life. How's that been?
Yeah, I've been studying, towards the end of my career as well. So I've finished my international sports law, national sports law, strategic business management, sports psychology, and also strategic. I said strategic business management and sport and recreation management. So it's been good. It keeps you busy. RB law is obviously a different kettle of fish, but I enjoy it. It's intriguing.
And you're gonna go do your articles, and we're gonna talk cricket. Don't worry. You're gonna do your articles. And you're gonna do your articles the whole spring from that point of view. The whole thing.
I'm not sure. The good thing with a law degree is that you can use it in business as well. So,
Absolutely.
you go into corporate and you have someone with a law degree, it almost counts for a lot. So, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'll definitely use it.
Mm.
Awesome. We actually met with Stephen Cook about 6 weeks back, and he's a lawyer, and
Yes.
I had no idea. And he
Yeah.
just joined Saka, I believe, if memory serves.
Yeah. He
Is
has.
that
Yeah.
something? Is that sort of an interest for you in the long run to join the ranks of Saka, perhaps, or do you want to go more on the player on the sort of the franchise side, administrative front?
Well, I'm not sure yet. I think we have to see when we get further down the line, what certain organizations stand for. What are they trying to get out there? What do they fight for, etc. So we'll have to see closer. But I mean, at the moment, I'm not quite sure.
Mm.
Fantastic. We can
That's
definitely
awesome.
get into the cricket side of things as well. I believe you were born and raised in the Eastern Cape in a little area called Galvindale, and that you've shared a bit of notoriety with the likes of Ashwell Prince, I believe, and a number of other greats that come from the region as well. Wayne Parnell, I believe, came in a little bit
Hmm.
later down the line. Tell us about playing for Galvindale Cricket Club, because the first time I've ever heard of them was listening to Ashwell's interview the other day.
All right.
Perhaps just unpack your time at Galvindale and just the ethos of the club itself.
Yeah, I think so when you grow up in a place like Galvindale, obviously gangsterism and drugs is rife. So you try and find alternatives to that. And to us, most of us, it was about sport. Playing sport and doing something positive with your life. And Galvindale was almost like a family, rather than a cricket club, because when you get there you felt like you were welcome. Guys were looking forward to seeing you. And when we played together, we played as friends. There was no politics, nothing. All we wanted to do was win. And often those years, when I started, all the guys wanted to do is beat the white clubs, because of the so-called previous privileges they've had. But I mean, it was great. It was great fun. We enjoyed each other's companies, our successes, and also when we've lost, it was never throwing fingers or pointing fingers at anyone. It was always a case of taking responsibility collectively.
Mhm.
But it's a wonderful place, and like I said, it's just sad that gangsterism and drugs has almost overpowered it.
That's interesting you mentioned about white clubs particularly, because I played a lot of cricket for Alma Maris in Cape Town. They're now known as Rondebosch Cricket Club. And whenever we used to go to a Mitchell's Plain or Hanover Park or any of the predominantly colored areas, there'd always be that like extra sort of edge. We're gonna bowl short, we're gonna chirp you the whole game, and it's like, and I would be part of the fray. There'll be a little bit more
Yeah,
gentle with me because he's like, okay, you must be a foreigner or something playing for these
right,
guys.
right,
Okay, he looks nice. He probably owns a shop down the road. It's fine.
right.
So he's probably a nice guy, whatever. So I probably get less of it. But my colleagues on the other end, they would catch it, right? Why do you
Right.
think that sort of vibe exists still till this day? Because I could tell you now, this was at least maybe 8 years back? It's quite recent.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not quite sure what club cricket is like nowadays, but the only reason I think it perhaps still happens today is that probably because of our past, where we come from as a country, the segregation, so I think perhaps some players still have that in them. And we've seen it with this Black Lives Matter. It comes out, and when it comes out, it comes out with emotion. So similarly, when guys play, whether it's club cricket or soccer or whatever sport, I think that emotion just comes out, because often you just want to hold it down, but there comes a point where things just happen, and I think that's what's probably happening.
Alvaro, I just want to jump in here quickly and ask you that because obviously after I watched Ashwell's video, it was a very emotional to see him break down like that. Obviously, because he was speaking about his brother who never got the opportunities that he had, or etc. When you were growing up, I know, when you were watching cricket and supporting cricket, when you were a fan first, was there players like that you looked up to, if from your city, from your area, that you can remember, and that you really thought could have made it further if things were different?
Well, I knew a lot of good players, and Lloyd Prince, Ashwell's brother, was one of them. So I played with him, and obviously he was my senior. But there was no one really at international level that you can look up to. So then all we wanted to do was play cricket, play hopefully professional cricket. And I remember when I was 8 years old and in primary school, um, South Africa played Pakistan at St. George's Park, and the school said the kids could go if you can buy your own ticket, and the school will provide transport. Now, my family didn't have money; I couldn't go, so I stayed at school. But often I would just peek into the classroom at the physical exercise classroom, and there was a small TV, and you could actually see what's happening. And the first time I walked in that morning, you could see South Africa walk onto the field against Pakistan. And I told the teacher, and I said, "That's what I'm going to do." And he looked at me and he said, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to play for South Africa." And he said, "It will never happen. It doesn't happen to people from this neighborhood. It doesn't happen to people of your skin color." And that was profound for me, because what has happened is, I then, throughout my life up to now, if people tell me you can't do something, it's almost a case of, it's not what you say, it's what I want. And I've kept that with me for a long time. And when I played my first game for South Africa, it was almost like it just came out of nowhere. But all along it was there. So it was that emotion. But I mean, it's I always looked up to people playing club cricket with me. Even though I always wanted to play for South Africa, but there was never someone there that you could look up to, because that person comes from the same neighborhood as you.
Sure, it's
And then
powerful.
three
Right.
Proteas later, I mean, I'm sure the Galverdale still producing fine cricketers. I had a look at their website earlier
Yeah.
today. It's really talented young lads over there. And tell me, batting with Ashwell, now I tend to jump up and down, right? Please forgive
That's
me.
fine.
That 501 batting partnership in the UK. You noticed the title, because this is me trying to be creative. I said the partnership
Right.
that broke the internet, and I remember that distinctly a couple of years back. That it was a trending item on Twitter. Everyone was talking about it. And what was most profound is that it was two individuals from the same area that played with each other at sort of a grassroots level, if you will. That managed to do that in one of the oldest competitions in the world. How did that make you feel personally to be part of such a significant achievement?
Yeah, I think it was great, and I mean, throughout the whole partnership, we would talk to each other. And the good thing for Ashwell was his mom and dad was there,
Awesome.
So
Cool.
yeah, they came over and they watched the game all 4 days. So they were there, and I remember Ashwell coming in at number 4. So when he came in, I had a few runs under my belt, and we just started going, and you couldn't really get going. He was struggling to get going, and he said, "You know what? I just can't, but I'm going to try and hit myself out of this situation," which he did. He got a couple of boundaries, and all of a sudden we were up and running. And then when we got close to the Lancashire record, obviously the teammates knew, everyone knew, the media knew. So when we went past that, it was a situation of just batting long. But I remember Ashwell say, "You know what? Come on, let's do it. Let's show these people who we are." And those were his words. And it was, yeah. Often people ask me, "How did you feel when you scored 100, a big 100? How did you feel when you scored a double 100?" And in that moment, it's almost like everything just happens, almost like automaticity, where things just happen. Your technique is perfect. Your mental state is perfect, and you can hit the ball wherever you want to. And it was one of those. But this time round, it was 2 guys clicking at the same time. And I remember the opposition wicketkeeper in the press conference. He said, "Well, what I've seen there was 2 international players, international test players, who really showed us how to bat, and we had absolutely no answer for it." And I suppose it was that, everything just coming together, and it was a good time.
It'd be awesome if we had a 1 and 4 that could do that for us right now. No. Just not throwing shade at. I've
Right.
much love for Africa, but tell me that. So I've seen you play against New Zealand, Sri Lanka, Australia, England, of course. Which away tour would you say was the most difficult for you? And I'm not really going to refer to the statistics side of it necessarily, but in terms of the environment, in terms of the crowd, in terms of the opposition itself, when they have the advantage of playing at home, obviously, which was the most intimidating environment, would you say, you've experienced in your 6-year career?
I think that's a really tough question. I'll tell you why. Because I would say England against the swinging ball is as difficult as playing India when they're the number 1 team in the world with a spinning ball. So whereas New Zealand know exactly how to play in their conditions, bowl wicket to wicket just outside off stump, whereas England, they bowl slightly straighter. India, obviously, they attack you with some spin. So I would say every single team in their own condition is very tough, and it presents different challenges, but also opportunities. So, for instance, like I said, against the spinning ball, if you up the order and you bat before the wicket gets roughed up, you can score some runs. In South Africa, if the ball gets older, you score more runs, and when the ball is new,
Right.
you could get out. Whereas in India, you score runs with a new ball, and it's difficult to
And an
score with an
old
old
ball.
ball. Yeah. I think every team and every tour has got different challenges.
100%. And out of your 5 test match hundreds, which one would you say consisted of the most difficult bowling attack out of the lot?
Sure. I'm I'm not sure, but I'll try and put the whole package together. It would probably be in England. So the first test match, Hashim Amla got 300, Callis got 100, Graham Smith got 100, and then there were me. I got naught in the first test match. So then we moved to Leeds, and
And
it's
then the
not just
Wolves came out and they were like, you need to get this guy out of it.
so the media started saying, Alviro needs to be dropped, and that is it. Someone else needs to take his place. I mean, it was persistent for days and days and days, that I need to be dropped. But I'm not sure if they didn't remember or if they didn't know, or if they do, or if they did know, but they were just ignorant to it. The test match before that, I got
Yeah,
100 and, 150 and
that's right.
40. So just under 200 runs in the test match. I scored a duck the next one, and they say this guy must be dropped. We then went to Leeds, and I scored 182, holding the innings together. So I think probably that one, because Leeds is a wicket that really nips around and swings. And also England, the number one team at that stage in their own backyard, it was tough, but it was very rewarding as well.
And I would appreciate you mentioned that, because somebody must just explain the technical part to me, because I saw a replay of Shane Dowrich taking I don't know if you saw that, but he took one to the right chin, the right cheekbone at least.
Yeah.
And it almost took off the pitch, and it surprised the guy. And they said something along the lines of, these are English conditions, the ball tends to dip, the wicketkeeper has the hardest time. Could you perhaps validate that, or just unpack that a little bit more for us?
No, it's quite right. It's difficult to keep in England. And similarly with the ball as well, sometimes it misbehaves, because in England they use what we call a duke ball, which is heavier. And yeah, in South Africa and most places in the world, you use a kookaburra ball. So the duke ball does tend to dip. It's harder, heavier, and even through the air, often it does things that, especially after it passes the wicket, it dips, or it even rises and picks up pace. So the wicket keepers, I know some wicket keepers, it's really tough for them to keep in
Yeah.
England.
Because I know I was guilty for giving Dowrich a bit of stick about that. But the truth is, I think he literally looked surprised. Like 5 seconds before this thing was about to hit him, he was like, "Okay, I'm a runner here," type of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Khalid, do you perhaps have any questions from your side? You want to
Yeah,
ask?
so I don't get to do this often. Actually talking to openers that, because obviously when you talk to openers that are currently opening, they can't really give you the answers that you really want to hear. So I really want to go into someone that has done it for a long time successfully at the top of the order. From my opinion, or if I was going to follow Joey, my observation, Joey Razdin says I must use observation and not opinion.
Right.
So my observation of this was that opening the batting is possibly the hardest position to bat in cricket, especially in conditions like the England conditions, Australian conditions, and South African conditions, especially with the new ball. What makes it so tough? From your perspective, obviously a lot of people will say, yes, it's the new balls, the first, you have to get your eye in first and all of that, and it's fresh and it's new, the bowler's fresh, everything. But what really made it tough? How did you become a specialist in that position?
Yeah. So what makes it tough is exactly what you said now, that you have bowlers that are fresh, and often you would, especially batting second, you would be in the field for a long period of time. You then bowl the team out, and there's only 10 minutes to change. And within 10 minutes, you need to get off the park, put your pads and your equipment on, and get out there and get yourself in a the right frame of mind. Whereas some of the opposition bowlers might have had an hour or half an hour to stretch, get themselves sorted, and so they're fresh and get going. So test cricket is exactly that. It's testing the limits of your mind. Often you play on really good wickets. Sometimes you play on green tops that moves a bit, but still you have to find a way of getting through those periods. Make sure that you get the ball old, and then you can score off it. But it's about testing every single thing. Batting at number 3 or number 4, you still have some time to watch on TV what's happening. What's the bowler doing? Is it swinging? Is the ball not swinging? And also knowing that the older the ball gets, the more easier it becomes. So it was really a collective test period for you, to get through it, whether it's mental, technical. And in international cricket, if you're technically not sound, people they'll find you out. even while you play, you play a couple of shots, and all of a sudden on the big screen they show some technical stuff. You know exactly what they're talking about. So does the opposition, and then they implement those things against you.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it's really tough as an opening batsman.
I know many kids out there would land on a position, for example, based on what their hero does. So, for example, if you see AB de Villiers bat and you grew up watching AB, you would say, "Oh, I also want to bat number 4 for my country or whatever, or you for my school, or whatever the case may be." How did you land on the opening position? What introduced you to that, and at what age did you start opening the batting for your respective teams?
Yeah, so I was an opener since I was young. Playing club cricket. Well, I would probably bat in the top 4, but when I made my first class debut, it was against Western Province, and I opened against a strong bowling attack there as well.
Who was
And
in
I
the
think,
attack?
sorry.
Sorry, who was in the attack, Alviro?
Well, it was Roger Telemarcus, Charles Willoughby, Dawson was in there.
Oh God,
Yeah, so all the old guys.
all the
But I mean,
uncles.
yeah, they could bowl.
Those uncles can bowl.
They could bowl. They could bowl. Yeah, and that was the last. That was the last game of the season. The next season, I was not in the. The first game, I was not in the team. The last game of the season, coaches generally give youngsters a go and that sort of thing. The next season, I was not in the team, but Rudy Steyn then had a slight hamstring injury, and he decided that he's going to sit out the one game and then be back. So I was drafted into the team against Alan Donald and company down in Bloemfontein, but then Alan ended up not playing. And I scored 147, and the rest was history. Rudy Steyn never got back into the team, and he retired after that season.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and people don't know that you actually average over 14, basically almost for every single team that you almost played for. So that's
Yes.
quite incredible. That's incredible. That's incredible stats over there, because people don't know when you look on Cricinfo, it can skew people's understanding of you as a cricketer, because first class runs are split between, obviously, you playing franchise cricket and 3-day cricket, or what if you call it back then.
Yeah.
But now obviously you need to split it up and look at it, and luckily we have the technology to be able to do that now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was able to see that. So for you during that period, it must have been quite tough, you coming onto the scene. What were some of the most difficult parts, and not necessarily from a cricket perspective only, but off the field as well? What made it difficult for you to break through onto the scene?
Remember when I started playing, there was the quota system was introduced. Then you had to play 2 players of color, and so it felt just like that. It felt like you almost competing against only a few guys that's the same color as you, just to try and get in, just trying to be the best 2. One of the top 2 players. But for me, it was different. For me, it was about, I'm going to compete against every single one of you. And that's the mindset. And I think that helped me a lot, because I've seen a lot of players who just compete with some. They might play a couple of games, but then they fizzle out because you can't maintain that performance. And for me, it was about going up against, I don't care what your name was. I remember the first game of the next season, when I got that 147, I sat on someone's seat, which was Neil Mackenzie, in the Titans dressing room. And he came in and he said, well, you know what, this is my seat, but I tell you what, we'll compete. The one who scores the most runs in the next game, you can get that spot.
Sure.
And I said, perfect, let's do it. And I scored the 147.
Sure.
And obviously that was my spot, and it stayed my spot till I left the Titans. So, for me, it was about those small little moments, the competition, stuff people don't know, but that's the sort of stuff that drive me.
Yeah,
And
because that's some.
were the beers exchanged at least afterwards, or like was it just like okay, got my seat, and we don't talk to each other again after that?
No, no. I think it was in good spirit.
Yeah.
It was done in good spirit. But I mean, as sports people, you want to be challenged, and you don't want to back down for a challenge. And I'm like that. It's
Mm.
probably because of where I come from and how I grew up. But that's the way I live my life.
Yeah. That's something we want to instill into our young players now, because I mean we see coaches fight with players of color, especially because we know that the quota system is there and it's in place, transformations in place, so you need to play a certain amount of players of color. And we don't want people to feel that they're getting picked for that reasons. You
Mm.
want to still, and that's something that I'm seeing now, picking up from you. And after I spoke to Ashwell as well, I got the same thing from him. He said he wants to be the best, period. You don't want to be the best out of a few. You want to be the best, period.
Yeah,
And you need to make sure that nobody can take that away from you. And that's very important. So that's amazing that we're
yeah,
getting that from you that as well.
yeah.
Ravi, back over to you.
Thanks. So, Vera, you mentioned your club career as well as your international career overall. How important is club cricket as an international cricketer? In other words, when you come back from an overseas tour, and I've taken a page out of Ashwell's book himself. I recall he used to go play. I think it was for Vix. Is that right, Khalid?
Hmm.
Ashwell used to
Mhm.
go play for Vic, yeah, for Vix, and especially after a tour of the subcontinent, he'll come back and play for Vix for a couple games or two, just to get back into the fold or back in, just to get some form under his belt. How critical would you say that still is in today's game?
I think it's critical, but I'm not sure if a lot of players are doing it. I remember playing day-night games on a Friday night and still go play club cricket on a Saturday. And there was a time that I played in the Northwest, so I would play a day-night game the Friday night at the Wanderers. Then straight after that game, drive through to Northwest, book into a guest house, and then Saturday morning I play with the guys because it means a lot for them. And the reason why I know it means a lot for them, when I grew up and I played club cricket for Galvindale, Aldine Baptiste played the West Indian. He played for Galvindale and he didn't need to because he was the professional for Eastern Province. But he would come and he would play,
Play.
and he would do things diligently, stretch like he used to do. Where even you would think it's an international game because that's how prepared he was, and I would do the same. Go and play club cricket, do things diligently because I needed to show the guys at club cricket what it is and what it takes to become a professional cricketer or just a professional sportsman. They needed to see that. But at the same time, I enjoyed the company. It was less pressure. So it was great. But I think there's a big positive in guys coming back and playing club cricket.
Absolutely. I think I think it's slowly being encouraged. I believe Ashwell is instilling that into his players at the Cobras at the
Mhm.
moment, and is slowly making its way to Robbie P's team in the Eastern Cape as well.
Right.
Um, tell us about watching the West Indies play now against England. This for me, this was like Christmas came early. You finally got Test cricket again. After a 3 or 4 month hiatus. How did it make you feel personally to see international cricket on the screen again? And most importantly, what do you make of the rest of the Test calendar for the remainder of the year at least?
Yeah, I think it was, when I watched that first test match, I could have probably have told you at the start that England might not play that well because they're that sort of team. You saw what happened when they were in South Africa. South Africa beat them the first test match, and everyone said South Africa's on the rise. And on SABC commentary, I said, don't get carried away. England is a team that they start a series slowly, but they get into it very quickly. And once they get into it, it's difficult to get momentum back. And that's what they've done. Getting into the series against the West Indies. And from there, West Indies almost had no chance. And that's how England play their cricket. I think they'll be a wonderful team if they can start well. But unfortunately, they're not great starters. But I think it's good to have international cricket back on our screens because people just want to see live sport. We haven't seen it for months, so it's good to see it coming back. It's also difficult to watch the game with no one in the stadium, no supporters, no Barmy Army making a noise, because most of the
Weird.
people, including
Absolutely weird.
myself, sometimes just watch just to hear the noise from the Barmy Army and that sort of thing. But I think it's great that it's back, and hopefully it will last. I mean, this coronavirus is something that we all want to just finish, but unfortunately, we'll have to live with it for a little longer.
Now, I have a little bit of a bias towards the West Indies. I'm a huge fan of them for a very long time. And you've had the opportunity to engage with them at a player front as well. You probably met the likes of Jason Holder, Kemar Roach, and Shannon Gabriel. This West Indies team, there's something slightly different about this particular side right now. Could we see perhaps like a bit of a change, an upswing of sorts? Because I looked at the ICC standings this morning, and I was thinking to myself, these guys have the potential to take this to the next level.
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. But I also think West Indies cricket, to be successful, they need to go back to their roots. They need to understand what their culture is about and what makes them authentic. West Indies cricket is about really quick bowlers running in, and almost that air of invincibility. That it doesn't matter what you bring, I'm going to show you type of thing. And we've seen it with great players of the West Indies. When they had the Malcolm Marshalls and the big guns, and then yes, and then Brian Lara. Just the way he went about his business, Chris Gale, and I'm almost getting a sense of the West Indies cricket. They're trying to play a different brand as to what they are. And I think they need to be authentic if they want to do well. And they need to go back to having that swagger about them and say, you know what, I'm good enough. But at the moment, I think they're doubting themselves.
It's like Spain playing long ball football.
There we go.
What is the other? Tiki-taka. We all used to pass back to the keeper, and then they used to pass to I understand that. And then, so we spoke a little bit of the West Indies, we spoke about England. Let's talk a little bit about South Africa, and I'm sure Khalid's going to whip out some questions from the fans as well very quickly.
Yeah.
But in terms of the South African cricket team right now, the top six has been under major scrutiny. After being out of the game for 5 years, what sort of insights would you say need to be considered in order for the top six specifically to move forward, especially if they're going to, I think there's talk that they might play the West Indies in September. I'm not sure if that's going to materialize or not, but what would you say is the most urgent items that the administration, the coaching staff need to work on desperately with the top six particularly?
Well, I think the big thing is you must get guys who can score hundreds. And as a team, as a top six, you must be able to get 300, 400 runs in an innings, in one of the two innings in a test match. And I think South Africa has lacked in that department. So in the England series, we didn't see a lot of hundreds. And that's what you want. If you look back at, and I really don't want to talk about when I played, because when I played, I hated when guys said when I played that we used to do X, Y, and Z. So, but I mean, there we would score 100 per innings, or 2 or 3. So, and that's what you want. You want to get runs on the board, even though in test matches you need wickets to win the game. But you need 20 wickets to win the game. But you can only do that and win games if you have runs on the board. So from a top six point of view, they must find a way of getting runs, even if it's ugly run. And then when they get it, they need to get it consistently. You can't get 100 now as a team, and then 2-3 test matches later, you only get another 100. You need hundreds in innings. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think from a technical point of view, there are some technical issues that individual players need to work on. But I mean, it takes hard work. And I know most of the players nowadays, even the youngsters growing up, just want to play 2020 cricket and hit the ball as hard as they can because it's the nice thing to do. But I think we're also losing the quality test players, the gritty players, where it's all about technique and hard work. I think we're somehow losing that, and I don't think it should happen.
Mm. Do you think it's a criticism of the school system? Because when I look at the school system at the moment, a lot of the players, especially Kai Majolovic, etc., it's basically the only time they really get to play long format cricket. I mean, I think there was a time when there was 3-day cricket played at an under 18, under 19 level, and that doesn't happen anymore. How do we improve that, Alvaro? Because at the moment, what's happening in South African cricket, from our point of view, it's a revolution. It's a new era. We've normally you'll have situations. I think when you would have come onto the scene as well, there would have been experienced players to ahead of you that you can come into a team with experienced guys around you as a youngster. Whereas it's like a JP Duminy could come into a system and he looks around the dressing room and there's players that have a lot of experience. Now
Yeah.
you've got a guy like Aiden Markram, or even if a Reinhard van Tonda is going to make his debut, or whoever the case may be, walking into a dressing room and it's like, hey, this is guys that I grew up with. Like, these are the guys I
Yeah.
played with at
Yeah.
school. Like, I mean, it's going to be that. That's what's going to actually happen. How do we improve it? How do we get back to that level? Michael Holding told me it's about a cycle. Every team goes through these cycles.
But
Mm.
What is your observation or opinion about this? How do we get to that level of that, that number one team like we always were known
Yeah.
for?
I think I honestly think our system, our school system must change. I think you must allow guys to play longer formats, because you get guys just playing 2020 cricket now, and even playing six-a-side cricket. Because
oh
it's
goodness,
exciting, it's fun, and guys just want to hit the ball, but they really don't work on their technique. So you don't get a bowler running in who bowls really quickly, and he's going to bowl 6 overs at you. Now you get these bowlers, he bowls really quickly. Only going to bowl 2 overs at you. And if you a batsman and a clever batsman, he's only going to bowl 3 balls at you. And that is it. Then he's out of the attack, and then someone else comes in, and it's a hit and giggle. So I think it needs to change from that point of view. Also, I think there should be more emphasis on 4-day cricket in South Africa, um, because that's the feeder to your national team. Now, a lot of people are saying that the 4-day cricket is not as strong as it used to be. Then I would suggest you get another layer just after 4-day cricket that's linking in with the national team. You whether it's getting to A and a B team, or a West and a South team, that out of these 22 players, some of them will represent South Africa at some point. You get them to play games against each other,
Mm.
and play 4-day games, and make it hard, make it tough.
Hmm.
There's lots of things that can happen. People just need to have the appetite for it.
And I think Dan's going to be brimming now because this is exactly what we were speaking about on our podcast. Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanna ask, or must I get into the questions?
let's get into the questions. I'm sure Viro's got a tight schedule, but the fans
Yes,
are dying to get in there and have a chat with
Sure.
Viro.
cool. So we got the first one from Sadiq David, for ex brother. You have so. How did you prepare before a test match as an opening batsman?
So preparing for a test match a couple of days before, I would obviously face bowlers, and just getting to feel bat on ball. A day before the test match, I wouldn't necessarily have a live net. I'll have a couple of throwdowns, and really prepare mentally. Try and get myself in the right frame of mind, understanding who I will come up against, where the scoring areas will be, what the records at the ground, how to play at the ground, etc. And then the morning of the test match, day one, I would also just hit a couple of balls, just to feel bat on ball, and then I'd be ready. I always say that if I get to game day, um,
Mhm.
it's just like writing an exam. So the studies is finished, It's just writing the exam. So different days will have different ways of preparing. But certainly for me, it was a big thing to get my mind right rather than my technique.
Now there we have it. We had Aiden Markham telling us exactly the same thing as well, that he does the same thing. So that's incredible. There's one from a buy. There's quite a few from a buy, but I'm gonna spread them out a bit. So you've captained the Lions. What's been your usual approach as a team leader?
Yeah, so for me, it's about getting the best out of my players. And I'm not sure if you can recall, but at the Lions, we used to play up to 8 players of color, so more than what was required. And the reason for that is because the guys were good enough. We selected them on merit, but also as a leader, I made them understand that I wanted to be the best. I don't want you to compete against your mate there who's also a black guy. I wanted to compete against every single one, not just in this team, but in the whole of South Africa, because I think you can play for South Africa. And once players have that belief and know that someone's backing them, often you get the best out of them. So to me, it was always about trying to get my players to believe in themselves and also believe in the road that we're taking.
That's incredible. Okay, let me just go to another one over here. Here
Yeah,
we
I say
go.
that Lions outfit is very strong as well. I mean, apart from Alviro, obviously, you had Stephen Cook, you had Bavuma, you had Fangiso,
Yes.
to name a few. Then obviously you had Neil Mack, who was sort of teetering out towards the end of his career, but still, that was a very strong outfit. I remember you guys were like always the top of the rankings, giving the Cobras, my team, a very hard time.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
the uncles are bowling a couple pies at you, eh?
Yeah.
140 kilometer per hour pies. But anyways, would be that as a main.
Wow.
Who was the coach at the time? Did you when you were there? Jeff.
Well, I was Nosworthy was coach, and then he left, and then we
Yeah.
appointed Jeff Tiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about Jeff because
Yeah.
I've always, whenever I have a conversation with Jeff, I feel like I learned something. Such a humble person, laid back
Yeah.
person. What was he like? Because I mean, he was extremely successful, and I feel it was kind of unfair to him what has happened in his career
Yeah.
so far. Where I remember doing an interview with him where I thought he was going to be the next. I was writing columns on it and saying that he should be the
Okay.
next Proteas coach. That was my understanding that it would be that, and then all of a sudden Gibson was appointed, and then I was like out of nowhere, and then I was like, what's happened to Jeff Triana? Then he wasn't at the Lions, then he was put back into the system, and then like now he's fighting back to get to that position again where he's in a franchise role. Hopefully he does get a franchise role. But what was Jeff like as a coach?
Well, let me first talk about what he was like as a cricketer. He couldn't play the short ball, and I'm hoping he's watching this now. He couldn't play the short ball. He was scared of the
Shots
short
fired.
ball.
Shots
So,
fired.
Jeffrey Tiana, if you're listening, I tell you this every day. Again, you can't play the short ball. So that was his playing career finished. Let's talk about his coaching career. I think he was a wonderful coach. We worked well together. He was one of those coaches that would just tell the captain, listen, yeah, you know what, get on with it, and do the planning behind the scenes. I remember giving Jeff a call. He was at the National Academy. It was in the winter. I gave him a call and I said, Jeff, you know what? Can we meet up? And he said, yeah, sure. Because he's in Pretoria with the National Academy, he said, let's meet up halfway. We met at Centurion Lake Hotel. And he wasn't sure what it was about. And I sat across the table from him and I said, are you going to order something? He's like, no, not yet. And I said, well, Jeff, we want to offer you the Lions coaching position. And he looked at the waiter and he said, can I have a double Johnny Walker Blue Label, please? And but I mean, he was so he was appointed the coach, and we set clear guidelines as to how we want to approach it, how we want to manage the team. And I think when we set it, he kept to every single one of them, and we would have some robust discussions, but it would be behind closed doors. And when we come in front of the team, it would be, almost like a collective. And that was a good thing. I respect that from any coach, but it was really good with the youngsters as well. And also it helped a lot with the black players, because he understood where they come from, and guys could be themselves in
Mm.
front of him. And I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, phenomenal person. So I'm going to go into another question. During your international career, what do you feel generally went well, and what were some of your biggest setbacks?
Yeah, there were some setbacks. There were also some good times, but that happens in international cricket.
Yeah.
In fact, in professional sport, it happens. So you're gonna have some good days, and you're gonna have some bad days. But I think one of the biggest that I can remember is actually going to England, and our purpose was to become the number one test team in the world. And it was driven. Everyone was on board. You knew exactly what you wanted to do, how you wanted to do it. And then at the end of the series at Lords, when we won a game, which on the last day could have gone either way, just that satisfaction of being the number one team in the world, but also realizing what we've achieved as a team. So to me, that was the biggest thing for me in international cricket. The biggest setback is always when you get left out, or the media asks for you to be left out. But I mean, it's part of it. It's when I
Process.
scored, yeah, when I scored a duck or no runs, you walk off the park, and it's just one of those things. And you're trying to move on to the next one. So there were lots of setbacks, but I remember the good times.
I'm
Yeah, I
gonna.
remember the same thing with Dean
Sorry.
Elgar when you got a pair in Australia. I think the
Yeah,
media went
exactly.
out straight for the
Oh,
jugular.
Yeah.
They
crazy.
were like, "Where did you find this guy from? He can't play." The man's been there now for 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Lords. I actually saw you guys win that day. I was there,
Okay.
2012. I watched it.
Nice.
Got Tommy Solakele's autograph. I lost it.
Oh, right.
On the way to Heathrow, I was like, "Ah, man, I lost the autograph. Ah, great." And I was like, "Okay, Vern, I'll see you in Cape Town. No problems."
Yeah, I mean that's incredible because at the moment I think someone like Aiden as well is getting that flag now. That people are like already spoken about him being dropped when, I mean, his career is so young. They're really talking about him maybe dropping down the order, batting four, and not opening up the batting anymore, and maybe bringing someone new in. So it's quite difficult to deal with what the media says and what the media doesn't say. Let's talk about you when you decided to hang up your whites and
Is Abai the only guy in the chat group? I'm sorry. He's like the
now
only.
there's this one. How easy of a decision, how difficult of a decision was it to round off your international career?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't actually a difficult decision. I knew it was time to finish off, and I also wanted to play a couple of years of county cricket. So I knew that I've done my service, and it's time for younger guys to come in. I could have stayed on for maybe 2 more years. So when I retired, I still had a contract offered to me, for the next year. But I felt it was the right time to give youngsters a go, because I knew that the previous year we've lost Callis, we've lost Smith. So you need to get the young guys through to understand what international cricket is about and let them gain experience. And I didn't want to hang around for another 2 years, but at the same time, I also wanted to go play a couple of years of county cricket. So it wasn't a difficult decision.
Can you elaborate on your county career? We when I spoke. Okay, so the current debate is in South Africa that the reason why we are not getting players into this national setup, or we don't have the right quality, is because our domestic circuit is weak, and that the county circuits are stronger than our circuits, and other international circuits are stronger than our circuit. Do you agree with that? And what is it like actually to play? Because when I spoke to Ashwell, for example, Ashwell said it's not actually true. He says that the county scene isn't actually more difficult than South African domestic scene. But I don't know if you agree or you disagree with that statement.
Yeah, I would probably disagree with that statement because I think county cricket is the closest competition to international sport. And the reason for that is because you have 18 counties, you play at different venues, you play a lot more than you would in South Africa, whereas in South Africa you play 4 days and then you're off for 3 days and then you play 4 days. Whereas county, you play 4 days, you might be off for one day and then play 4 days again. Or you play
Oh,
four
wow.
days and then the next day you play a T20 at another venue. So after the 4 day, you have to
Sure.
drive and then go play. And
That makes
and
sense.
and 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 also, what the counties, they effectively look after their own finances, which means that they want to make sure that they have the best team on the park all the time. Because if they can't have the best team on the park and not win games, they will lose revenue in terms of the membership. Whereas in South Africa, you have Cricket South Africa looking after all the franchises, so it doesn't really matter if you win
Lose
or
money.
if you don't win. It's just a business under a big umbrella. Whereas in England, it's 18 counties doing their own business and
Sure.
ECB doing theirs. So it's from that point of view, I would say it's much tougher than South African domestic cricket.
Do you think us opening it up to maybe having more franchises will improve the strength in South African cricket and improve the? Because my understanding is if you open up more franchises, players filter down, and because players filter down, they'll filter down into club cricket and improve club cricket. That's my utopian world. And then we'll have sponsors getting behind, because obviously you'll have provincial players playing club cricket now for better money, because it's easier to market. For example, to market. Okay, I'm not saying this would happen, but I'm saying, for example, Jason Smith playing for his club against Zubair Hamza, that would be easier to
Yes.
market than what it is currently.
Well, I personally think, and I have advocated for this for many years, even during my playing days, is that amateur cricket cannot be first class cricket. Amateur cricket shouldn't be first class cricket. It shouldn't count for stats because it's just too easy for guys now to not score runs at franchise level and then go to amateurs and score a couple of runs and their averages is up there. Um, and if you can take that away and really make sure that players that play, if they play franchise cricket, then it counts towards their stats. You would probably get more competition going because from a player's point of view, what they want is they want their names in the record books, either as a first class player or list A player. But at the moment, it gets into the record books because they play a couple of amateur games and that is it. You want guys to push and push hard. Also, if you extend the franchises, it means the pool is just bigger to choose from. But I still believe that every franchise they must effectively run their franchise as a business. Because if you run it as a business and cricket is your core business, you're going to make
Agree.
sure your team is as strong as it can be. At the moment, it's almost like, well, cricket is happening and we
Yeah.
run a business on the side. And if we don't do so well, Cricket South Africa will bail us out anyway.
Yeah.
So here's a new one. It's what do you make of the university cricket scene in South Africa?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the university cricket scene, but I mean, what we've seen with the rugby, the university rugby, it somehow is quite popular. So, we need anything that can strengthen our cricket in South Africa collectively. We need that. But what people think at the moment is that they need a hit and a giggle, which moved from 2020 to 10 overs a side now to three teams playing 12 overs and six-a-side tournaments. I prefer to see the longer format where club cricketers play two innings and see, get guys who can bat for long periods of time. Because how can you just promote 2020 cricket and you expect guys to bat for 2 days in a test match? And that is the reason why we we
Fairly.
we have our top six in the test matches can't bat for long periods of time at the moment. So, but in terms of university cricket, I would support anything that can strengthen our cricket in South Africa.
Yeah. So last one from the fans and last one from a buy. This one is for to name a few young top order batsmen in
Yeah,
domestic
Paito.
in the domestic circuit. Other franchise or semi-pro that you rate very highly.
Well, so the one player that I really rate highly is Abhay Hamza. And yes, he hasn't really scored a lot of runs in Test cricket, but he's got what it takes. And I think he just maybe needs 100 at international level just to kickstart him, because often when it doesn't happen, you start doubting yourself. Even when you're
Mm,
out in the middle, you bat and you get a couple of runs and you get to 10, 20, and there's always that little man on your shoulder telling you, you're probably going to get a good ball. If you listen to him, then you're not quite there. So I just get a sense that if you can get a big score, then I think you'll kick on. And then also Yanaman Malan has impressed me. He's one of those players I think that can bat long, that can score runs. But international cricket's different. At
mm,
franchise level and provincial level, you play against the opposition. At international level, you play against the opposition and yourself, and that
sure.
is the difference. Because you start doubting yourself and so on. But I mean, there's a lot of young players that come through. It's just about how we manage them.
Mm. Cool, Ravi.
Fantastic. So, Alviro, we normally extend an opportunity to our guests just to share with the fans what you're busy with, any new business ventures or any charitable ventures you might be busy with, church or business orientated. By all means, we give you the platform, the floor to share how our fans can best reach you in that regard.
Well, you know what? I'm busy with a lot of things. So my cricket school is up. It's been up and running for like 12 years now. So when the coronavirus just slows down a bit, we'll get back into it. And then my studies, obviously, that's important, and then also my foundation. But if they want to have a look at what I'm up to, my website is alviropetersen.com. And we've got a couple of things. It's been quiet lately because, as you know, nothing
Mhm.
really happened.
Mm.
But I'm keeping busy. I'm also doing a lot of things in terms of consulting. So other than that, same old, same old.
Awesome.
Cool.
I'm sure our fans can certainly get a hold of you on Twitter if need be. You're quite vocal, I've seen. And yeah, your engagement level is quite high as well overall. But thanks for coming onto the show, Alviro. It was great meeting you, man. And I certainly hope we all have an opportunity to meet once this pandemic sort of cools down over time.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.
We'll have
Awesome.
it at Khalid's house. He's going to have a massive draw at his place.
Fantastic.
With
That
Claremont.
sounds great.
We're going to get some Wembleys.
Right. There we go. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Cheers,
Thanks,
man. See
guys.
you.
Cheers,
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
So, Ravi, incredible conversation. Learned a hell of a lot about the game, learned hell of a lot about ourselves there too. The knowledge that we lack in certain departments.
That's a good position to be in. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, any parting words? What did you learn from this experience at the moment? Would you say?
I think the more that we do this, the more I realize that cricket is a completely different game to what we see on TV.
Mhm.
There's
Exactly.
clearly more dimensions off the field that occur. There's a lot more politics that occur at granular level from what I've picked up as well.
Yeah.
And every player has their challenges. Their story doesn't start when they wear that Proteas jersey. Their
Yeah.
story actually starts when they're a schoolboy going to their local primary school in Galvandale, when a teacher tells you that you're not good enough to play for the team here, let alone for South Africa one day. And I'm sure there's plenty more of those stories that are around in the country, and I hope that we encountered those on the Legends with Ravi show and the Cricket Fanatics magazine overall.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. Is the fact that it's easy for us as fans to sit on the couch and judge players and look at kick info and say this is how this player is and he shouldn't be picked because his average is not good or whatever the case may be. But when you break it down and you actually see, like, that story is about that interaction that he had in the changing room with Neil McKenzie. That's an incredible story that we didn't hear before, and
Yeah,
that players go through that. The main thing for me that I took out from this is what he said about playing franchise cricket is playing against the opposition. When you play international, you're playing against the opposition and yourself, and that was an incredible quote that I want to take out, and that's something that I want people to take away from this is that I think we don't understand that us as fans, we have such a massive role to play in the success of so many cricketers in our country. If we want to see the game progress and we want to see cricketers become better, we need to support them as well as fans. Go to those games, watch them play franchise cricket, spur them on, create an atmosphere
absolutely.
that they want to play in. And that's
Yeah,
what we're going to drive the Cricket Fanatics magazine, and we're going to try our best to drive it as best as possible. And we want you guys out there watching to help us on this journey and help us achieve that goal.
spot
So
on.
yeah,
Spot on. I was gonna say,
so,
I think you're encouraging the right behaviors there. Guys, club cricket games, franchise games, were at least a 4-day variety, the 3-day provincial series, those are all free of charge. If you want to bring your boys and girls to come and have a look at professionals play the game, that's a perfect opportunity for them to get the best education. And the best education is to watch other players play up close. And then you also have the odd occasion where you can actually engage with the guys off the field as well. They're quite friendly, quite approachable overall.
mm,
So please, moms and dads, if you're listening to this, I encourage you all, don't wait for KFC mini cricket and take the kids to the ground to learn how to play cricket. There are plenty of opportunities that do occur during the week. And yeah, that's a fantastic learning platform overall.
yeah, and we know that children have a small attention span and a much shorter attention span. We understand that, and I mean, I see it in the club rugby scene. We How many supporters go to a Villagers match, for example, or a Hamilton's match here in Cape Town alone? The club scene
Oh,
is massive,
pumping.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's keeping rugby alive in this country.
And,
It's keeping
and
rugby
Khalid,
around.
SK Warmers.
So
I know your uncles, they play for them, eh? They mustn't
no
lie.
ways. So for me, I think that even if you take your someone or your friend or your girlfriend or whoever the case may be, a bunch of kids to go watch a club cricket game on the weekend for an hour or 2 hours. It doesn't have to be for the entire game. Even if you help support the club scene, spend some money at the tuck shop. Get a few. Or if you drink, get a few beers and whatever the case may be, and watch the cricket and
Okay, don't
support it
take your
because
girlfriend to a club cricket game unless you plan on breaking up with her that day. By all means. She's gonna sit there, unless she really loves the game. You'll be like, why am I here? Why am I not a Premier PRT at Cavendish
they
Square?
watch rugby.
Yeah.
You have to bribe her somehow. You can say, okay, I promise you, I'll take you to. Let me think of a nice restaurant now. I'll promise you, I'm going to take you to NV80 afterwards if you come with me for 2 hours to cricket. I think, Dad, that's a great
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, I'll
Anyway,
take it to
guys.
BK Lounge, Burger King, bro. Burger King. Get your Whopper.
Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot to everybody that has joined the show and asked questions in the comment section. We're going to be doing this continuously going forward. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our magazine. It's coming out at the end of this month again, 1st of August. We're going to be doing it's the second issue. It's about leadership, and it gets into real amazing stories of leadership and what it is. Not only captaincy, but leadership as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the first issue. It is available now. It's free, guys. So just support us as well, because we're trying to give you the best possible content that we can possibly give you in cricket today. Thanks a lot for everybody for tuning in. Thanks a lot again, Ravi. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to press the notification bell, like this video, share it with all your friends, and comment in the comment section. And I've been Khalid, and we will see you again very, very soon. Cheers, guys.
There you go.